Hi, Lady Gang. It's Becca. Before we start this episode, I just want you to know that this episode does contain conversations about mental health, the recent events in Texas, and we just wanted you to be aware before you pressed play.
It's time for a Quickie.
Podcast One presents The Lady Gang, the Hollywood girl posse, with LadyGang Quickie. Here's Keltie Knight, Becca Tobin, and Jack Vanek.
Let's make this quick.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Lady Gang. I'm Becca here with Jack and Keltie. It's
Hello.
a quickie.
You know, we have a plan for this quickie, but it's real life is happening to the Lady Gang this week, and I really want to just, you know, sometimes you guys like to hear about our real lives, so let's just dig into what's actually going on. Mm-hmm. So Alex is a bridesmaid at a wedding, and I can imagine that many of you are going through this, where she went to the bridesmaid dress store, and she's between two sizes of the bridesmaid's dress.
Yes.
And I don't know what I was about to say effery, but I'm going to say witchery. Oh, I caught myself. I don't know what witchery bridesmaids dress size charts are made on, but they're not for the rest of the world. We should just be using the size chart from the Gap or Target, but we're not using that. There's this whole different conundrum that they measure. So they measured Alex and she was between two sizes, and they were like, you should get this lower size. And she was like, are you sure? Because if I'm between, maybe we should just go up. And the lady's like, no. Absolutely not. You're this size. So she orders the dress, and as you know, these dresses take 6 months, and you get them right before the wedding, and you pray to God they fit. Ugh. She puts it on. The dress is too small. Now, Alex is a Polly Pocket. She runs an hour every day. She's a tiny little person.
I'm shocked that there's a dress size that's too small for her, really.
Honestly,
Same.
I was like, who fits in that dress?
Maybe it's when you have a junior bridesmaid.
Yeah. Like a child. It's
when
limited
my
to sizing.
When my sister was too old to be a flower girl, but too young to be a bridesmaid, she was a junior bridesmaid in our friend's wedding. And I did
not even know that was a thing.
Yeah, she was fifth grade. She doesn't have boobs yet. This is not a size meant for a lady, you know?
No.
So she calls me and she's like, I called you before I called your mom because I know you know gowns. And I was like, I'm so touched.
Thank you.
So I came up with anyway, so she's going to get on a train to New York City to get this dress fit. But the good thing is that when you get these bridesmaids dresses, they're so long. Becky, you understand this.
Oh, yep.
They're so long that they always give you 5 or 6 inches because you're going to figure out what heel you're going to wear, and then you get it done.
Love
so
it.
she can take the whole bottom and then do a panel in the side to open up the bodice.
Oh.
But it's who has time for this, you know? But I used to do that a lot of time with my dresses on the red carpet. People do that all the time. And then it's under your armpit. You can't really see it. It's the same color. It's the same fabric. Because when they make these dresses, you would think they would be smart enough to put a big inseam in or a seam in so that people could take it out 4 inches if they need to, or take it in.
Yeah.
But they don't, because they want to purposely screw you.
Well,
because weddings are meant to be super stressful, and they're like, ha ha ha.
They want you to spend all that extra money, you know? Get those alterations.
Probably
$100
a $400 dress she's never going to wear again. I mean, it is cute, but it's oh my God. So poor Alex.
Poor Alex. We feel for you. She has to take time off work to do these things, and she's not going a tropical vacation. It's going into New York City and getting alterations.
I don't know how I'm going to count the F-bombs today. I got to go do my bridesmaid's dress.
That's the fuckery of the bridesmaid's dress. But then in real life fuckery, this situation with the school shooting, it cannot be there aren't enough words to describe what's going on. There aren't enough. I just keep literally looking at Ford and crying, thinking about sending him off to school one day and him not coming home.
Yeah.
What the is happening?
I guess I'm just feeling terrified that this thing, it's a cycle, right? This horrible thing happens, we all donate and we post and everyone's up in arms, and then a week later it's nothing ever happens. And I just don't understand, because I was, up at 4 o'clock in the morning feeling my feelings last night, and I was looking, and don't quote me, I'm not in newswoman mode, but, something like 90% of people in the States actually do want like a background check for these kinds of things. Yeah. Nobody's saying like, hey, if you're a hunter or if this is your sport or if this is your passion, you can't do that passion. It's just like, when I was a kid and I wanted to drive my parents' motorboat at the lake, you have to get a boating license. Like, you're not allowed to just drive a boat on a lake. You have to actually like show that you're
a driver's license to drive a car.
Driver's license. Like, nobody's saying you can't have this as your passion. They're just saying like, hey, let's make it so that not everyone can just go, be open to this. And if 90% of the country, like that's millions and millions of people, feel that way, I really it breaks my heart, because that means 90% of the country is like so frustrated today. It's this isn't everybody, a 50-50 thing.
Everybody just feels so fucking helpless, because it's like you can get so outraged, you can donate, you can do all these things. And then we've seen it time and time again that nothing ever gets done. So it's like, what can you actually do? And it's just such a disconnect between the powers that be and like a normal citizen of like, what can we do?
Well, I think this is actually a really interesting conversation, guys. And I'm going to kind of lead into my week, because you feel so powerless. And obviously I'm up in Canada. I'm back in Dr. Business's bedroom, and I've had some family shit going on, and I spent many hours in the ER this weekend. And I was talking to some of the nurses, and I was like, what can I do? Like, what do you need? Do you need me to buy you sheets? Do you need me to buy blankets? There's not holes in the blankets. Do you need me to buy, I'll donate?
It's such a shitty situation at the hospital, right?
Right. It's absolutely brutal. And she, I was talking, it was like 2:30 in the morning to this nurse, Tammy, and she said, I think people, once they get the care they need, they forget to actually do the work. And she's like, you can write in Canada, you have your MLA, which is like your senator, essentially. She's like, you can write letters. You can, when it comes time to voting, you can look at the budgets. You can do all these things. And it's sort of like, we get so lucky, right? Like, this is going to pass for us. This school shooting will pass. These are not our children. This will pass for us. And then the same thing with like this horrible thing that I just experienced will pass. And then you'll forget, and you'll get busy in your life, and you won't write the letter, and you won't go to change things, because you're just like, oh, well, I'm okay again, And it's really important that we do that work and keep on people, and keep using our power, and especially us, with the little bit of notoriety we have. Like, for me, being home in Edmonton, like, in LA, I'm a Z list, but in Edmonton, I'm underneath Leslie Jones and the guy that's on Young and the Restless, as far as like Canadians that made it. So like I could write the newspaper. I sat while I was, in the hospital, I sat kind of writing an essay, because I was like, maybe one day I can put this out there and it can really explain what it's like. Sorry, I know I'm mixing gun violence and hospitals, and I know that's like a little, these are not the same things.
No, there are parallels, meaning like when you're outraged and you feel that something is so unfair and so, quite frankly, just effed up. It's true. It's like with anything, when you get really outraged over like even the smallest things, it passes in 2 seconds. I mean, this is something massive. And even though it's going to last a lot longer in the zeitgeist, it's still going to pass. And it's with your situation, it is reminding yourself to remember your feeling in the moment and have that be your motivation behind everything that you do and all your intentions with this topic.
Yeah.
You texted me something interesting about the hospital, and you said, I can't wait to like basically fund a new psych hospital for this part of the country. It's needed. It's terrible. And that's what I really want to do. And that's when I'm so impressed by individuals who go and they take all that and they do it. Like, you have so many ideas of grandeur. I'm not saying that you're not going to do this. I do believe you as Keltie Knight you're going to make a difference. But we've all had those moments of having, and so you have to be that person in your life that is going to do the thing that you say you're going to do, especially in these moments of, this is just quite frankly like not okay.
It's a really interesting thing. Like, I've lived in both healthcare systems, America and Canada. And sorry, guys, this is not the funniest podcast today, but this is some real life.
Nobody really is funny today.
Yeah, great. So I've lived in both health systems, and they both suck for different reasons. The really hard thing about the Canadian system is that you can't just like get the specialist that you want.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when you need a knee surgery, you're on the list and you're waiting for the knee surgery, unless you're like an Edmonton Oiler. And so it's the same thing. It's a fucking travesty with mental health because, you know, the only way to get the help you need is to go to the emergency room, guys. Mm-hmm. Let me describe the emergency room for 36 hours with someone. And we were not alone. There were people that were in a mental health crisis on both sides of me all night long. I would say 75% of the ER was mental. And then there was a broken leg and a person who I think burnt themselves on the barbecue. It was a terrible burn, but you know, like it was mostly people that were either on drugs, were drunk, or were in absolute psychosis. So you come in and first of all, you wait for 2-3 hours in the waiting room. So you're in bright lights, tons of noise, the TV's on, the hockey game's on, people are coming, going, doors are slamming. That's not good. Then when you finally get back, you're like, okay, finally, they called my name. It's going to be better. They take you and they put you on a chair. They take all your vitals. And then I'm like begging. I'm like, could we maybe lay down somewhere? They don't have enough beds and there is no place for anyone that's doing mental health to go. So you're just in a bed in the hallway. So it's a stretcher in the hallway. My stretcher is across from slamming doors. And can you imagine what 35 beeping machines sounds like at one time for someone that's having something with their brain? And this is not their fault. Like every beep, 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 nurses are coming by. And then the nurses, I got to be honest with you, they're incredibly mean. And they're mean because they're exhausted. Yeah. They are. I had this first nurse I met, I was like, wow, you shouldn't be a nurse. And then I talked to her 12 hours later and she was like, you get to a point being in the emergency room, my only care is keeping people alive. I can't even care that you're hurting, that your people are worried about you, that you're in pain, that you're freaking out, that this is not a great place for you right now, that, you know, she's like, I just have to keep the hearts beating because we're so understaffed. Everyone quit during COVID. Yeah. There's no nurses. People are working like 12-hour shifts 7 days a week. There's no help. There's no doctors. I saw one doctor come around in 36 hours.
Wow.
The nurses are keeping these people alive. And then on top of that, there's all the idiots who are coming to the emergency room for things that are not emergencies. Okay.
Well, yeah, and that's so fucked up because then they're probably giving just the amount of space and time and whatever as somebody that's like literally dying.
In Canada?
Yeah. It's like, I understand that when someone comes in and maybe there's something going on in their brain that they're not number one. Like, I get that a heart attack is first. I get that you've been, you know,
stabbed.
God forbid, I'm saying stabbed, shot at this point. God, who knows what's going to happen. Like, yes, that person is going first. You know what I mean? But people, if you have a rash, do not go to the emergency room. Please wait until the morning and go to your doctor. Like, what is happening? It was just bananas. But, you know, for me, it's like I really believe that there needs to be a place in the emergency room where when someone comes in, you know, it's this invisible illness, right? Like you come in and you're awake and your heart's beating and you look fine. I mean, you don't look fine, but like you look like a normal tired person, right? But it's like you can't see how bad and how traumatizing this is for someone. So it's like, what if in that emergency room there was a ward where when it's for mental health, you could go and the beds are dark and the beeping is minimal and you're, you know, enclosed somewhere where you feel safe. Like, it's just not fair for these people to be out in, you know, in the world into these like bright spaces that are banging and like, it's torture. I said to the charge nurse, I was like, we have to move this person because like we're torturing this person. This is like what I assume they do. Actually, it's what, do you remember that movie, that show Homeland with Mandy Patinkin? Yeah. And they would like kind of torture people on that show. Mm-hmm. And what did they torture with them? They kept them awake. They shone bright lights at them. They put loud noises at them. Like, you're literally torturing a person. So I am committed. Like, I've already been in touch with the head of the Covenant Health and like already wrote them. And like, we're going to make the Keltie night. I mean, maybe I won't name it after myself. That seems like a little douchebaggy, but we're going to make some sort of thing where people that are struggling, that need this emergency help can go, but they're also safe while they wait. Because the waits there's going to be a wait no matter what.
Fun fact, Coors introduced the first recyclable aluminum can in the 50s and later introduced cash for cans, kicking off aluminum recycling in America. Now they're removing plastic rings entirely and using a new, more sustainable cardboard wrap pack instead. We just love, love, love this chill beer that cares about the environment, don't we? According to National Geographic, 91% of the 8.3 billion tons of plastic produced since the 50s still isn't recycled. That's why Coors is committed to becoming the largest beer brand in North America to replace plastic rings by 2025, eliminating 400,000 pounds of plastic waste every year. All major Coors Light breweries are zero waste to landfill, meaning 99.99% of waste is reused or recycled. They've reduced nearly 24% of their carbon footprint, saving over 1.2 million metric tons of CO2 since 2016 and saved 1.1 billion gallons of water since 2016. That's crazy. Reach for the beer that's made to chill and made for more sustainable future. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Drizly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/lady. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Lady Gang is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Hey, Lady Gang! Whether you love true crime or comedies, celebrity interviews, news, or even motivational speakers, you can call the shots on what you're listening to as a podcast, right? And guess what? Now you can call the shots on your auto insurance, too. Enter the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. The Name Your Price tool puts you in charge of your auto insurance by working just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you a variety of coverages that fit within your budget, giving you options. Now, that's something you'll want to press play on. It's easy to start a quote, and you'll be able to choose the best option for you fast. It's just one of the many ways you can save with Progressive Insurance. Quote today at Progressive.com to try the Name Your Price tool for yourself and join the over 27 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
The Lady Gang.
So you don't have to answer this if it's like too much information, but when something like this is happening where it's mental illness, when you check in, what do you say? Because it's not, I just broke my leg or fell off a ladder. Yeah, well, I think this is where we really fail people, and it's Mental Health Month, so this is a good conversation to have, because I think there's, unless you've known someone in your life or are an expert on it, it's very difficult to understand, like what is serious and what's not. And then on top of it, and I mean this with like all of my love and my heart for people that are struggling with substance abuse, but the people that are dealing with mental illness and the people that are dealing with substance abuse are looped into one thing. Right. So often you're looped in with the person who's drunk. You're looped in with the person who is on meth. You're looped in with the person that, needs to detox. And not all, in my case anyway, that's not what we had. Well, not all people with severe mental illness are using substances. Right. And so I think when people are seen at first, it's like, oh, it's just a drunk, because you kind of have the same thing. You're out of it. You don't know what's going on. You're slurring. You're not feeling your best. So how do they know how serious you are? You know what I mean? And so it's a really unfortunate thing. And the other thing that I thought about a lot was just you have to have someone to advocate for you. Oh, yeah. I did watch so many people come in. There was a woman next to me. I mean, I don't know if this is against the rules or whatever, but whatever. She was in the stretcher next to us, and I heard her talking, and she was like, I'm not feeling well. I need to be hospitalized. I'm suicidal. And, and she was talking and talking and talking, but she didn't have anyone with her to tell her story. So she's this person in this mental state trying to explain what's going on with her. Right. And by the end of 7 hours, the doctor was like, okay, here's a pamphlet. And oh my God. Here's a psychiatrist I want you to see, and we're going to up your meds, and sent her on her way. I came in with a goddamn file folder, and I was like, here is all the things that have gone on. Here's what I want. And the minute they were like, oh, well, and I was like, absolutely not. We're never leaving. We're not I was advocating. That's why it was almost harder on me, because I was having to be begging people to help us, Yeah. And so can you imagine if you are, a lot of times people that are in a mental state are alone. Their family's been alienated from them. They're crazy and people have had enough. This is probably not the first time they're going to get help. And they're already being terrorized by the lights and sounds and people and all these things. And then they're trying to explain to someone
what they need. Like, this is an impossible situation for these people.
Yeah.
You know, like, I thank God I was there advocating, but like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know?
Imagine if you weren't, and what care that would have been given if you weren't there doing that yourself and pushing and pushing and pushing. It probably would have been sent on with a little bit of medication as well. And then imagine what could have happened.
It's really like heartbreaking. And I did watch it happen all night, that I was like, wow, that person really needs help, and they're not going to get the help they need tonight because no one's going to understand. You know, long story short, poor mental health people. I love you. I see you. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. And I was like, you know, what's good about this time in our lives is that there is less stigma. Mm-hmm. Like, people 30 years ago, they just got locked up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you just got put in like whatever they call it, a loony bin, whatever. But like, you know, now this is like, you know, I have a thyroid thing, I have a whatever, and like, people just have a thing. Like, your brain is just not working right, you know? It's not anyone's fault. So
Yeah.
Well, and you talking about it, even in this conversation, I'm sure a lot of people have learned something that they did not know if they don't have somebody close to them that's experienced something like this. So it's like, these are the kind of conversations that you need to be having to move the needle forward even a little bit.
Yeah, and it's so easy to just say like, oh, this person is whatever, you know? And I'm like, that's not actually true. And the other thing is just like, my respect for nurses. I always had respect for nurses, of course, you know, like, when you've had times where you've had to be in the hospital or you've been sick, like, they're amazing, right? And even during COVID, I remember LadyGang, we sent out all these nurse packages, and we're like, the LadyGang nurses, like, go get them. Until you sit in an ER for 36 hours and watch the people do their 12-hour shift, go home, and then come back, like, their life sucks.
Yeah.
Like, that's the worst job. I mean, there's probably worse jobs, like maybe being a sewer person, but like, people are yelling at you. Everyone's important, right? Everyone thinks their shit is the most important shit.
Yeah.
There's no thankfulness. And then people leave, and then you're just forgotten. Like, yesterday at night, I had the night off. So I went to the Real Canadian Superstore. Shout out Joe. Got this sweater because I have no clothes with me. And I bought like $500 worth of Tim Horton gift certificates. And like, today I'm going to go back to the ER and like I wrote down all the nurses' names, and like,
that's nice.
you know, but like, not saying that I get a medal for that, but like, once you're well, you forget that the people who helped you, you know what I mean?
It's so true. It's very true.
Anyway,
No, I
I'm
remember
talking in
like being
circles,
in the
sorry.
hospital when Ford was born, and like, that's a 99% of the time, it's very like, it's a happy place to be because babies are being born. And yes, there's definitely some shit that goes down and some really sad shit. But you would see these nurses get off of their shift, go home, and come back, and having just even feeling bad that they were doing that, let alone not working in the ER. So it's unimaginable what that would be like. And thank God they exist.
I know.
Thank God. And I can understand why they're short nurses because no one's going to be nurses. Like, nobody wants to be a nurse. No one's like, hey, you know what I want to do? Get abused by people for 12 hours at a time in the middle of the night. Like,
yeah.
It's like them and school teachers, they should be getting paid more than all of us and podcasters. That's for sure.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So anyway, it's been kind of a week, and it was funny because I haven't been on my phone at all. And then I'm like flipped on Instagram, and I'm like, this school shooting? What? Like,
No. It's all very surreal, yet it's real. It's the reality. So
Every day.
how are you guys? Sorry. I don't
No,
mean to go
it's
on a
fine.
tangent.
I mean, what you're going through is very, very real. Like, my stuff is so like inconsequential. You know what I mean? Like, Zach's traveling all week, and I had the baby by myself. And it's so interesting when something like that happens, how your entire perspective shifts.
Yeah.
Like 2 nights ago, I was kind of like, oh my God, go to sleep, you know, like go to sleep so I can take a shower and whatever. But then last night, I'm just like holding him, and I'm literally just looking at him crying and crying and crying and thinking about that, how absolutely terrible, how fucked up. Sorry, there's no other word. How fucked up it is that there are parents who didn't get to do that last night. And it's happened so much. And not to say that before I had a kid, I couldn't understand. It's very obvious. It's not hard to know that that is excruciating. But now after having a baby, it's like, I can't even breathe that moment. It's like thinking about the possibility of something like that. And so it's just horrible. And we love the Lady Gang because you guys are such an amazing community that rallies behind things that matter. And if this podcast has meant anything to you and it has ignited a little bit of more fury and rage, which it should, please join us in staying active and on top of this. Right now, money talks, and there's a GoFundMe for the families of the victims. And granted, it's just money and that's never going to bring their children back, but it does help even in a minuscule way to not have to think about finances when you're dealing with a trauma and a loss so huge. And then Every Town is an organization who is putting in the work to try and change these laws and make things change, make it so that you never hear about this kind of news again. And you never have to worry about somebody going into a grocery store or a church or a school or whatever it is. We just are sending you a lot of love and thank you for joining us. And, that's all we can say. We love you. Happy Mental Health Awareness Month, because holy
yeah.
I love you guys.
I love you. We're really proud of you, Keltie. What you did this week was not easy, and most people will never know what that is like. So stay strong. Don't forget to ask for help. Also, for you guys out there, that's a really important thing to do. And check in on your friends who are in a place right now that's not amazing.
Or friends that you think might not even be in a place. Just check in on everybody.
Just check in. Sending you love. Mwah.
Thanks for listening. The Lady Gang is produced by Alex Ingber, Steve Delameter, and Jared Monaco. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And if you love it, share it with your friends on social media. Like, oh my God, I just listened to Lady Gang. This episode's so great. Swipe up to listen. And if you really want to, which we know you do, please follow us on social. At Keltie, at Becca, at Jack Vanek, and at The Lady Gang. Sign up for our newsletter at theladygang.com and join our secret Facebook group. It's super fun. See you next Tuesday.
All this month, stream the funniest films for free on Pluto TV. Watch comedy classics like Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, and Mean Girls. Or drop in for a Tyler Perry marathon with a Medea family funeral and Medea's witness protection. Pluto TV also has hundreds of channels and thousands of movies and TV shows like Get Shorty, Be Cool, Key and Peele, Comedy in Color, and more. And no contracts, no subscriptions, no fees, no joke. So download the Pluto TV app on your favorite streaming device and start laughing today. Pluto TV, drop in, watch free.